Hi, I'm Jeremy Chambers, and I'm here with Gabby Van Breda, and it's good to see that her and Peter are both back from Indonesia in one piece. I've asked her to join me to talk a little bit about their trip to Indonesia, as well as our special speaker this weekend, Dr. Gregg Jantz. Gabby?
So glad to do so, Jeremy. Thank you for asking me. And yeah, Indonesia was interesting on a number of different levels. I think the first thing being that although we knew nobody there, it was easy to bond with the Christians in that country. They were absolutely amazing to us. And the other thing that was interesting to me was the fact that even although we were in the largest Muslim nation in the world, I was surprised to see how much liberty they actually had, and perhaps that was because we were in the capital city, Jakarta, although we did fly to one of the islands, and you know they have 17,000 islands in Indonesia, and so that was quite an experience as well. But the one thing that it did show me, we've traveled extensively, as you know, all over the world, but that God is working everywhere, even in Muslim nations, and so that was fantastic.
And Gabby, could you share with us a little bit about Dr. Gregg Jantz? I know that you and Peter have had a relationship with him in the past, and coming this weekend, I think we're just all really excited to just get a little bit of a taste of what he might be talking about.
Well, I think that people should not miss this opportunity of seeing one of the renowned psychologists in our area. He is very well known. He's written a number of books. He specializes in a number of very important areas, as I think you've alluded to in this video presentation, Jeremy, eating disorders and stress and anger and lack of hope. And he is just amazing. Him and LaFon, his wife, actually, we go back with them about 18 years now, long before their two wonderful boys were born. And you know, besides being such a well-known psychologist and so experienced in so many of these areas, him and LaFon are just the most wonderful, sweet, loving people that you could ever wish to meet. And what I love about Gregg is that he says hard things, but he always says them in such a pleasant, joking way that, you know, you have to receive them. So be here this Sunday.
Well, we'd sure like to have you join us this weekend. If you'd like to know more about Bellevue Foursquare Church, you could check us out on our website at bellevuechurch.org, or give us a call here at the office at 425-644-6845. We look forward to seeing you. God bless.
And you think about, I mean, I'm just going to be bold here. I think there's too many hurt and angry women who don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And then we end up seeing them because they have depression, eating disorders, or other issues. And so anger is a universal issue for both men and women. And maybe men will be my next topic.
Right. So, but women definitely handle anger much differently.
Well, typically they do. We think of men sometimes exploding with anger. And now there's women who are rageaholics too. Okay. But women a lot of times implode, or I call it, they tunnel their anger into something different. They're hurt, they're injured, and it's not okay to show anger. And so they will become a perfectionist. They will develop a secret life with food. They'll develop a prescription drug addiction. But that anger is going to go somewhere.
And become something.
Secretly for years.
Yes.
They're finally admitting it.
Yes, that I have a problem. And literally it's been, if you will, hidden in the closet. They've kept it secret.
Wow.
You can keep, if you're bulimic or a binge eater, you can relatively keep that a secret. You can look fairly normal.
Yeah.
But there's this awakening point where something, your body breaks, something goes wrong, and it's a point of panic. You see, all eating disorders take you far, like any addiction, farther than you ever wanted to go.
Gotcha.
And the real danger with the eating disorders is we live in a denial that I'm in charge, I'm in control of it, and you continue that behavior.
And many people have died. I think about Karen Carpenter, one of my favorite singers
Yes.
years ago. I mean, she died, and we thought, why? She had an eating disorder.
Yes.
Is it predominant in Christians?
Well,
Are we seeing a rise in Christians?
We are. And what we're seeing among Christian women, because let's just say alcohol, drugs are not acceptable, or other addictions. but we all got to cope with food or have to deal with food.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so an eating disorder is probably the most common. When I say eating disorder, again, we could say food addiction. Just it's somewhere on that continuum of eating disorder or disordered eating.
Yeah.
And we know that this can get a stronghold in a person's life. And, you know, really the enemy can grab this in the person's life. And, you know, anorexia is the number one has the number one death rate in all psychiatric disorders.
More than 20,000 people ran the iconic Boston Marathon. 500,000 people there to cheer. Then tragedy at mile 26. Just before the finish line, a bomb explodes. Shrapnel ripped through the crowd, bringing runners to their knees. And seconds later, another blast. The crowd turns to panic and chaos as people rush to help the injured. And it is those horrific images of Boston's deadly attack that stick in our minds and force us to reflect on our own personal safety. Matt has more on the lasting damage that these attacks and the images can have. Matt.
Well, Marnie, as you know, this was a targeted attack during a happy, very public event designed to inflict the most pain possible, which makes us all ask the question, should I be attending big public events? And when I'm there, am I really safe, especially since the person or people behind the Boston attack have not been caught? And to help us work through those questions and others is best-selling author Dr. Gregg Jantz. Great to see you as always.
Oh, well, this is such an important topic for us.
And we have big public events here in the Seattle area. Seafair, Bumbershoot. We have big marathons, and I know there are people out there asking the question, am I safe going to these events after what I just saw?
You need to go. In fact, I participate in all those events. There's some half marathons coming up. I'm going to be doing them. I'm going to be there. We've got to face these things. If we isolate, we tend to create more fear. Fear has a ripple effect, and so then it's going to grow into other areas of our life. I want us to face these things.
I got to tell you, these events for so many people are personal.
Yes.
My family just returned to the Northwest after spending 5 years in Boston. Every time we went to the Boston Marathon, we lined the marathon route to watch those runners, to be a part of that big event. My wife says to me yesterday, I don't feel like you can go to any big public events anymore. So how do you handle that anxiety if you do want to attend? You say press through, okay, I'm going. Okay. Now I feel skittish when I'm there. What do I do?
I want you to do some smaller events. I just talked to a guy, he said, you know what, I was going to do a fun run coming up this weekend, but I says, I don't know if I'm going to do it. It's a couple hundred people. I said, no, go ahead and do that. I want you to build back up to it. I also want you to know that's normal to have that response, to have some anxiety, to maybe go into a stadium and go, wow, I feel some anxiousness I didn't feel before. That's a normal response. Now, if 2 months from now we're having this conversation and you're paralyzed, you can't go anywhere, that's another issue. I don't want it to go to that. Particularly if you had trauma in your life, some other trauma, this can be a tipping point for you. This is a time where the stress, the depression may really increase. Don't isolate.